engagement and the role of this new forum. Over to you, Mr. Ricardo.
Wonderful. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're joining from. It's morning for me. You could be doing anything with your evening today, but you chose to join us here, and it really says a lot for your commitment to the industry. Kerala chapter is one of the first construction forum in India, so you're among the inauguration of something that is pivotal to the construction industry in India. I encourage you to reach out to the chapter, to the convener, for more information. And the forum is about you. So with these types of forums, organizations, it's about your commitment as well. So as much as you want to put in, you will get out of it. So feel free to share your ideas, so that we can help with programming for Kerala, as well as lead the way for India. So I really am excited about the opportunities and possibilities that the forum can have. Some of the things, and the president mentioned it, is you're really trying to not only create a community to learn and share, but also lead the way for the future of construction in Kerala and in India. So certainly helping to shape, the regulatory authorities, and creating standards, and really getting to the forefront of some of the decision making in your particular area. Some of the things that we have done so far, we're working with similar type organizations, NGOs, regulatory authorities, government agencies around the world in terms of trying to get not only the PMICP recognized as the standard for the construction industry, but certainly, pushing the way for recognition as lifting the standard of the construction industry. And this certainly will help, and your involvement will also help in this regard. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to officially kick off the Kerala Chapter Construction Forum, and I'm really looking forward to engaging with each of you and with the convener to help to shape the programming for the forum and shape the construction industry as we go forward. So I'm also pleased to share with you what we're doing in terms of the PMICP, or the PMI Construction Professional, which is the newest certification that was launched by PMI, specifically for the construction industry. So I would go straight into saying that the PMICP is like, it's really a specific curriculum designed for project managers and the ecosystem. So everybody involved in the construction sector, whether you're in real estate or urban development, in utilities, anything to do with the built environment, this is intended for you. And I'd like to say as well is, not only should project managers pursue this, but certainly everybody involved in the project, whether you're the financier or the risk manager or the legal expert. It's important that we're all speaking the same language. We're all working with the same standard to be able to lift, the productivity and efficiency and quality of projects that are delivered in this particular sector in your region, in India, and beyond. So I thank you. Next slide. So why is this important? The construction industry is one of the biggest industries in the world, representing about 13% of global GDP. In India, the last statistics I checked, it's around 9 to 10% of GDP and employing somewhere around 50-something million people in the sector. So it's one that's very important. In addition to that, globally, there's about $70 trillion in global infrastructure investment that is projected between now and 2035. As you know, infrastructure is one of the mechanisms that governments use to really jumpstart economies and get it going. So infrastructure is really a vehicle for economic growth in most countries. And with that, at the moment, the industry has a skills shortage. In addition to what's projected, you really see that there is a need for your contribution in this particular area. So I like to say you're in the right place, you're in the right industry, because the opportunities that are being presented, not only today, but in the future, are really great. So you're taking the right step in terms of getting the information to be able to upskill yourself and future ready yourself for the next wave that's coming. Next slide. So the construction industry, I think, it could be described as really three-pronged. One is the process, and we've made tremendous advances in terms of recreating and introducing and adapting to some of the latest processes around the globe, including lean construction sort of initiatives. And that was borrowed from the manufacturing industry from Japan. And it was successful in manufacturing, and it is being introduced to construction with a large degree of success as well. Some of the other things, advanced work packaging, the last planner system, etc. Also, the advances in technology also, came to bear in the construction industry with AI, digital twins, blockchain technology, virtual and augmented reality, etc. The part that's missing in our estimation is the people side. So we've not spent enough time in terms of developing our people to be able to future ready them for the next wave of construction, as well as to improve the standard, improve efficiency and productivity in the sector. Next slide. So with this in mind, PMI sort of brought together some of the biggest names in the construction industry. One that is close to home will be L&T from India, the US Army Corps of Engineers, US Department of Energy, Saudi Aramco, to name a few. We also collaborated with the Lean Construction Institute, as well as
Vimal, can you keep muting the people if someone is by mistake?
Yeah. So in addition, we've collaborated with some of the sort of pioneers in the industry, Lean Construction Institute, as well as the Construction Industry Institute, and have incorporated some of their proprietary material in the development of this PMI-CP curriculum. So at the moment, it's 7 courses, 4 of which are required for the PMI-CP, and then 3 additional courses for the senior construction professional, and we'll go into that in a minute. Next slide. So the core elements of the PMI-CP includes, as I mentioned before, the lean ways of working, really advocating and advancing the lean construction principles, talking about reduction of waste, reliability in work from one process to the next, and really getting to the point where the as lean suggests, we're reducing slack or waste within the system and really advancing productivity. We also introduce a data-driven approach to construction and the introduction of the latest technology advances in the field as well. Next slide. So the PMICP has a self-paced format or an instructor-led format. So you have two options by which to choose your mode of study. The self-paced format, of course, is the e-learning where you can get on the PMI website, download the courses, and as it suggests, you can complete it at your own pace. It's about 6 to 10 hours of dedicated learning time per module. And for the instructor-led, this is delivered through our authorized training partners and in a classroom setting. We estimate about 2 days per module for the training for each of the modules for the PMICP. The instructor-led version is really a customized case-based approach, which could be delivered depending on where it's.
मीटिंग चालू है क्यों कर रहा है
Sorry, Ricardo. So, requesting everyone to mute yourself.
Can Cynthia is there? Cynthia, can you just keep muting the people if someone is?
Yeah, she is. She is.
You are the host, no? You can do that. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Sorry, Ricardo. Go ahead.
No problem. So in the instructor-led version, you have the opportunity to customize depending on the delivery to each organization utilizing real-life case scenarios. At the moment, we have a few authorized training partners already established in India, and we're growing this cadre of ATPs, including an outreach to universities where we're looking for some of the players within the construction industry in terms of higher education to also look at either bundling or offering the PMICP as a professional training opportunity. Next slide. The eligibility for the exam is very simple. You require 3 years of on-the-job experience within the last 10 years. No other sort of requirement is needed or criteria. And you must have completed all of the 4 foundational courses. When you've completed those, similar to the PMP, then you apply to be considered for the capstone exam. Next slide. The actual exam is about 120 questions. It's proctored in a sterilized environment. If you have done proctored exams, you'll understand that you have to be very careful about what is around you, etc. So somebody is actually monitoring. It's a total of about 230 minutes, and the primary domains that are covered are contract management, stakeholder engagement, strategy and scope management, and project governance primarily. Next slide. Here's a quote from an individual that has taken the PMICP, and he is saying over the next 5 to 10 years, he anticipates that 50% of the construction professionals will hold the PMICP, and it will lead to about 50% decrease in projects that are exceed their budget and timeline or fail to deliver the expected results, which is a fantastic testimonial. Next slide. Next slide. So the value proposition for the PMICP for individuals as well as businesses is the fact that you really are enhancing your project quality and efficiency in terms of delivery, in a better managed in terms of risk, and leading to more improved client satisfaction, providing a competitive advantage for you as an individual as well as for the organization, and of course leading to overall organization growth. Next slide. So since its introduction to the market about 2 years ago, we have about 17,000 individual courses that have been completed or are in the process of being completed. So you have a really great pipeline of individuals who've started the curriculum and leading to the PMICP certification. So we're very encouraged with this healthy pipeline of every month that are taking and starting their process to the PMICP. We also have from South Africa the Construction Regulatory Authority, who have gone through independent analysis of offerings, training in the marketplace, and they have decided on the PMICP as the standard for the construction industry in South Africa. And they're moving to Parliament to make it mandatory that anybody in the construction industry, especially if you're a project manager, you must have the PMICP, which is a fantastic feat in itself. Similarly, we're working with regulatory authorities throughout the world, and of course, with your help in Kerala and in India, to see how we can get some of these standards embedded into the construction authorities, organizations, associations, etc. So we're all in this together, and certainly as we continue our efforts, we'll see some progress as well in India. In Saudi Arabia, for example, the government has recognized the PMICP as one of the credentials that will attract a full refund for any citizen that takes the courses and pass the exam, which is fantastic in itself as well. So this is being considered as well in lots of the Middle Eastern countries, and they're at the forefront of introducing this to their sectors. We're talking roads, we're talking utilities, etc. Next slide. So why choose the PMICP? And it enables you as an individual as well as an organization to upskill your workforce and utilize them in more high-value tasks. It really shows and demonstrates to your employer that you are on top of the latest standards, learning in the industry, and positions you for your next opportunity, certainly within your company or outside of your company. Because what the PMICP does, it really creates this global standard for cross-border opportunities, and says to employers around the world that you have the latest skills with this credential. It equips professionals with the industry-specific skills, and businesses can ensure that their projects are completed on time, within budget, and to the highest quality standard. This creates a culture of continuous improvement and professional excellence, and really drives the sector to be much more productive and efficient. The certification certainly helps to build trust with clients. If you're applying for a project and you demonstrate that your project managers on the projects all have the PMICP, it certainly demonstrates a commitment to excellence and adherence to the industry best practices. And I'm sure will position you and gives you that competitive advantage over anybody else who is applying for a similar project. The PMICP certainly also helps as businesses to retain and attract the best talent within the industry. And I mentioned earlier that with the skills shortage in the sector, this certainly will bode well for organizations and for individuals. So with that, I thank you very much for your time, and I hand it over now to Tony, who will go through some specifics on each of the courses. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you very much. It's a great honor, and it's a great auspicious moment for us to start this engineering and construction forum for the PMI Kerala chapter. I really thank Ricardo for your time, your involvement, and your commitment to spread this construction certification across the globe. As Ricardo rightly mentioned, this is one of the beautiful courses I have come across. The time I go through the entire courses, I feel it like, yeah, this is something is really required for the construction industry. And, I'm sure that as one of the testimonials said, I'm going to see that this certification is going to be one of the prerequisite, one of the mandate, and one of the basic certification required for anyone who is managing the project or getting associated with the construction. Especially in the Middle East, now you can see that there's a lot of job opportunities are coming up with the PMP. Now that's going to be slowly moved into the PMICP when the employers and the people, those are managing the projects, are getting more familiar to the terms and to the benefits and to the advantage of upskilling the people with the PMI constructions professional certification. So today, the structure of my presentation is there are 7 courses are part of the PMI construction professional. So now the 4 of that is part of the PMICP certification. So once you get the PMICP, you have completed that 4 courses, and then taking the exams, you become a PMICP credential. This exam is a capstone exam, like Ricardo mentioned. You need to do with the same seriousness of any global certification which you are doing it. And once you completed, you can go through the other 3 courses. Then you become a PMI senior construction professional. That is a credential which will come to you directly. There is no further exams will be there. Now, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through all the courses in a very high level, and one of the course in a little more detail. That is nothing but the construction communication management. So yeah, thanks for the slide. So there are 4 courses, rightly I mentioned, for the PMICP construction professional certification. These 4 courses are construction project communication, construction interface management, construction scope and change management, and the construction contract and risk management. Now, can you just move to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So the PMI project communication, to start with, as Ricardo was mentioned, when the PMI started analyzing the construction industry and then looking at its challenges, one of the predominant factor which has come up is the lack of coordination, collaboration, and a lot of confusion and a lot of firefightings which are happening in the construction industry, which is resulting into a lot of the delays and cost overruns and everything. So one of the prime course or one of the prime curriculum which is projecting to the construction industry is the project communication. Now, usually the communications which is considered as a soft skill, but you all know that in a construction, this skill is very important for us. This is a skill which is really required to be acquired by everyone in the industry to practice it, from the top management to the people, those who are working in the ground like a foreman, and those who are giving the work to the people like a supervisor and everything. I'll take you through one of my experience, which is in Kerala itself. I do consulting to the organizations, and I've done around 4 to 5 consulting engagement in Kerala, where I help to implement the lean project management practices in 10 to 12 projects. So in one of the organization, when I started the consulting, so usually I ask the people like, what are the problems, what are the challenges, what you really want to improve it, why do you are engaging, why you all are coming and sitting in this, the group for learning and understanding. Before I start giving the learning as well as hand holding them to get it implemented in the project. So one of the organization, the general manager said, yeah, I mean, I asked people in my organization, HR, to arrange a communication training program. And I don't know, they arranged this lean project management engagement. But anyway, I'm positive. I just want to see that how it is going. So we have taken them through the process of planning, coordination, to having the using a space for collaborating. That's something like in a big room or Obeya, what is mentioned here. Establishing a protocol of communication, making the people to have the commitment in a more structured way, to asking questions and understanding. So there are some tools like class planner systems, which is following the commitment based management, which is mentioned here. We are talking about the various tools and techniques in a project management. We talk to the people and we help them to get it implemented, to practice in the project. And after 3 months time, we had the same group gathered, and I was asking them, okay, now you had an expectation or a problem in the beginning, and now after 3 months you are here to get together with some kind of a experience, exposure, and result in your hand. And the GM of this particular organization said the very interesting point. He said that this is what exactly I asked for the HR to bring for us, and we are happy to see that all our people are having a better communication in position. Now, if you look at in a general perspective, in a normal management language, a communication means that the people will be talking about a soft skill, which how do you interact, how do you email, how do you create a document. But whereas when it is coming to a construction, it comes with both the science and art. So that is the beauty of the PMI construction professional courses as well. It is taken in such a way that it is giving you a framework, it is giving you an idea how to generate the strategy, how to get involved the various stakeholders into that, and how to create a habit of active learning, and having a structure in place which can used as a platform for the people to have a conversation, information, transparency, everything, and having a structured way of giving commitment and tracking in the system, and the project management information system. And ultimately, again, the beauty of what the PMI CP is, they literally brought in the various concepts and the progress which has happened in the construction industry and the project management industry across the globe. So what PMA has done is, there's a PM body of knowledge, the PMPOK, what we call. There is a lean construction methodology which is developed by the Lean Construction Institute. Like Ricardo mentioned, it is started in the automobile and manufacturing industry in Japan. But in 1980 to 2000 time, this started getting implemented in the US through a lot of researches and studies, and similarly it happened in the UK also. Now all these learnings are now being getting practiced across the globe. So the Lean Construction Institute have a very structured way of making the people to understand and practice the lean concepts. And the CIA Construction Industry Institute in the US is another institute which is deeply into the research and analysis and understanding the construction through a data-driven approach. Now, this data-driven approach will make this art of what we are talking into a science, or to analyze. Like, for example, the communication what we are talking, they have a specific tool on how do you get into an evidence-based communication, it's happening or not. We can say that our project doesn't have a communication, or our project is a very good communication, but how do you prove it? So there are some tools which is being used or developed by the CIA. Now, the beauty of not just this module, the entire module is all these informations are taken into a kind of a structured way by bringing a lot of experienced people from a various organizations, and then presenting to the entire globe for learning and then practicing in a construction industry. Can you take to the next slide, please? Okay, so now I just want to do a little deep jumping into the communication course, what we are referring here. I may not be able to do a complete justice to that, to give a complete information about this course, because the course is for 2 days, like Ricardo mentioned, and now we are going to spend, maybe 30 minutes of a quick jump in and going. But I just want to give a very quick high-level view of how does this course is being organized, and what do the participants or the people, those who are going through the course, will learn by end of this 2 days when they taking through a classroom or an e-learning exercise. Okay, so there are many studies in construction which is done by PMI itself and a lot of other agencies, and most of the research and studies will say that the projects are 90% delayed, the 95% cost is overrun. There's a lot of, the challenges are happening. So one of the study here, it's been projected. You can see that the 33% of the mega projects are failing due to the communication issues. So it can be happening from the beginning, like, the scope of the people, what they understand is different. It can be the communication which is with the government and the contractors are different, or it may be between the client and the consultants are different. So whatever be the reason, end of the day, the projects and the people are getting suffered. And another 50%, you can see that the project experiencing a significant impact on time, cost, and scope itself. Now, what we required is that we need to have a pure governing structure in the beginning of the project itself, which will give us a good framework, which will have a clear clarity on roles and responsibility. For that, you need to have a stakeholder analysis, stakeholder understanding, and a power matrix to be created and everything, which we have to do it in the project. And we also have to create a forums and meetings in such a way that it is not overburdening the project and the people, but at the same time, the effective communications are happening in a structured way. So this communications and the reporting will ultimately help us to identify the risk and the issues and moving forward. Now, if you look at, if you don't have a very good governing framework in position, even a best project manager you hired from the industry, still your project will be struggling and your project will be failed, and in terms of time and cost. And this has happened to many of you might have as well. You are a very good project manager and you are doing excellent in your current organization, and some of the competitor or some other organization find you doing an excellent job and giving a good job hike and the promotion, and they hire you. You will start struggling and suffering because the entire system what you had in the previous organization, that framework will be missing in the new organization. So what is happening is today in construction industry, it is all happening in a silos and in a kind of a very isolated way. There is no standard or structure of how does this governance can be established and be continued in the organization. So with the PMICP and this communication courses will help us to move over from unstructured way of working in a different project and different organization. Hopefully, as Ricardo mentioned, we could be able to establish a standard in the industry and a protocol in the projects, and having more efficient way of working across from the beginning to the end of a project in the future. Can you just move to the next slide, please? Okay, so the first and most, we definitely have to have a strategy, as I mentioned earlier. So this is nothing but to ensuring that the proper informations are being spreading across the stakeholders in a proper way. And absolutely, it have to be aligned to the project objective. A road project, what you're doing in a highway project or a local roads, your stakeholders are different and your project objectives are different. You cannot handle the highway project in such a way like a local roads are handling, because there the stakeholders are directly more involved and their day-to-day lives may be getting affected if it is not being properly handled. And also there may be a lot of existing, but whereas in a new highway, it may be more of a greenfield work where you may have to have a different challenges will be there. So these are the some strategy which you need to, like, when you have in the beginning of a project, in the starting of a project or in a conceptual area, you need to have this particular information need to be ready, and your strategy and the communication plan need to be beginning from the beginning. You have to ensure that how we are going to take it through the entire project life cycle. So this how do you create a strategy, how do you create the project communication plan? All this is are very much detailed and in-depth are discussed in the courses when you are going through that particular modules in the very in-depth area. Can you just move to the next slide, please? So when you do the communication strategy, one of the key point to be remember is the managing the stakeholders. So the problems, definitely you will be getting into a project if you are not able to manage the stakeholder in the right way. Just keep moving the three slides. Yeah, three points. So assessing the stakeholder and then building the strong communication management and overcoming the resistance. So the third point is very important. That's why I just put it here. Many times the people don't understand what is the purpose of a communication, or what is the purpose of a having any messages passing from one stakeholder to another stakeholder. And there is always a feeling like the other party is trying to take over your job or trying to steal your work or trying to create a bottleneck for you. So there is always a resistance, you could see that between the stakeholders. So it is very important when you are creating a strategy and you are creating a framework, you also need to ensure that a right mechanism is developed in the communication system to see that a right feedback is going to happen. Can you move to the next slide? So the feedback loop, when we are talking, it is very important in the, whether it's a large and complex project, definitely it is an important, but whereas, even for a smaller project, it is a very critical factor for us to ensure it. Now, if the feedback loop is not there, what will happen? You can see in a mini construction project, it's all like a one-sided. The project director or the project senior person, the person who is in the control of a project, he takes all the decisions and he dispenses all the information. So what will happen is, even a small things which is need to be happen in an organization or in a project, which will have a dependency on the very senior person, and unless until he or she approve it, it may not be going back. So what will happen is everything is like one person controlled, and that one person become a bottleneck at some point of time. So when you see that, you really have to have an effective communication. You have to put something like a feedback loop. Now there are 4 different feedback loops are mentioned in the courses. The one is the positive feedback, and second is the negative feedback. Whereas the positive feedback can happen if you started involving the stakeholders in the beginning or in the early stages of a conversation. Now, an example, you create a design, you're not involving the contractor, you're not involving the client, you created a design and pass it to them. That is when they will be starting giving saying that no, this is not constructible, this is conflicting with my other requirement. Another stakeholder will come back and say that this is not practical because the site conditions are different. So what happening is, this is a negative feedback. So you created something and giving to the people, and then it's not happening, it has been coming back to you as a something, it's a problem. So what will happen is, there is a hostility, there is a negativism, and there is a ego clashes, everything will come. But whereas the positive feedback is, you started collaborating, involve them, trying to understand their position in the early stages of a discussion, whether it's a design, even for a planning a work for the next week. Then what will happen is, you started getting the feedbacks in the beginning itself, so that you can decision can be taken in the right way. So it's a positive feedback. So similarly, this can happen with the internal and external feedback, where you need to have a different strategy. You may not have a control on external. So how are you going to do the strategically? You are going to ensuring that the informations are passing to the people and taking information back from them. And internally, you'll have a different feedback loop mechanism need to be there. So this ultimately should help us to see that how we can take a better control on the strategically to move forward. So taking to the another important point, which is one of the famous quote, which is commonly applicable for all the industries and all the office communication and everyone. The most important thing in communication is hearing what is said. So many times people are busy, the people are having a quicker communication, they do the short messages, and then they assume that the other person understand and everything. Can you just move to the next slide? So as the Peter Tucker said, you can see that in a reality as well. There is only 7% of our communication is verbal, the content of our communication, but whereas the 55% is people understood by the postures, movement, gestures, and facial expressions, and breathing, and skin color changes, and everything. So now, what we are doing in construction, unfortunately, is 38% of conveyed through the quality of voice and tone. If you are familiar to the construction industry, you know that how we get the things done is through sounds and noises. Like whoever is raising their sound to maximum in the site, they are the project manager or a project director. But the real communication, if you really look at, it's about through the 55% is through the right postures, movement, and gestures, which is directly related to the collaboration and having a right way of putting the information to the people. So many times the people misunderstand the effectiveness or emphasis of where to be done. So they're more focusing on, okay, I've written my information, I sent an email, okay, I put it in the WhatsApp, I sent a voice message, or they get into the wrong side of shouting and then creating a fear factor in the people and everything. They never or very hardly get into the greater portion of how do you get it done through in a right way. So the courses what we are talking is making you to understand, like for example, the 4 elements of a communication. So in depth, if you look at the center, the receiver, the message, and the channel, if we rightly selected, now for example, you have to have a information passing to the foreman to get a work done. If you are not understanding their challenges to execute the work, and you are just creating a noise and shouting at them saying that, hey, this has to be done by tomorrow, definitely they will say that yes, I will do it, because you are using a wrong channel of sitting in front of all the meeting or all the people, and then using a loud noise to convey the messages. The center, because of the fear, he just saying that it can do it, but whereas we may not be getting the result out of it. So we have to use the entire communication in a such a way it will get a better result out of it. And for that, what we importantly required is an active learning. So unless until we started listening to the people, we have to bring this listening skill to the top management, to the engineers, and to the foremen. And this is what exactly making a normal manager and a greater project manager, the difference between a normal manager and a great project manager. So any average guys, they come from their experience. Any problem comes, immediately they will take an action and then try to solve it and move forward. But what will happen is this problem is going to come back to you over a period of time. You may have the material problem. You just shout at the store and you shout at the procurement. You may get it done, but tomorrow again you will have the problem. So what we need is creating an active listening. This is nothing but the art of communication. How to build a trust and creating a culture of an open conversation. How do you give, like everyone is running out of time. So how do you give that a sufficient time is possible to get a listen? So usually in a construction, what I've commonly see when I do my consulting and helping the organization is people are willing to spend 1 hour, 2 hours if some works are not happening or something is not happening. So you can see that on end of the day, the people are coming together and gathering and they'll be fighting each other for 90 minutes, maybe 120 minutes to tell who is wrong and what went wrong in that particular day. They're not willing to spend a 15 minutes on the beginning of a project to come together, or beginning of the day to come together to understand where or what need to be support need to be extended to the other people to get the work done. So every time you will see that the people in the construction industry, especially in wherever the developing countries where we are seeing, people extended their work like beyond 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 8 o'clock. Sometimes even there is no time to go back, specific time to go back, and the morning they will come late. So the morning there is no kind of a situation where the people have a common understanding what work need to be done and how the support can be extended and everything. Whereas we will spend more time when things are not happening to fighting each other. So we have to change that approach of the listening and understanding. We have to give a sufficient time for the people to listen, and which will make them to the focus fully on what is the communication and how it can be applied. Now there is a beautiful system which has been developed in a Toyota as a part of a lean implementation, which is called as an Obeya or a big room. Now you can see that the Obeya is it's a lean approach which has been taken now into the lean construction methodology also, which is introduced in the PMICP certification course as well. Which actually this Obeya is giving us an information platform, like it's a collaborating platform where all the information related to the project will be displayed and available in one particular location. So it's like, see, every time you do a planning, the plan may not happen as it is in a project. So you'll have to have some activities will be happening. There maybe something may happen or not happen. You have to again react. Any improvement you are bringing can be displayed. Like for example, you have a checklist, and you can started seeing that there's a quality failure in particular area. So there will be a separate team working on that to improve it. So what was the problem? How does this problem is identified? What is the countermeasures is happening? And what is happening now? If all the information related to the project in a proactive planning and as well as the reactive, if it can be available in one single room and in where it can be accessed by all the participants in a project, so that gives a more information transparency and your collaboration. Now, if we are planning for 1 week activity and the activities are happened or not happened, which will help one trade completion of a work will be helping the other trade people to make it more prepared and make it ready. So the Obeya or the informations which will help us to have a complete control of bringing a continuous improvement habit in a project. So this is one of the another area which we can definitely look at in a construction project to see that we can bring more collaboration and improvement in terms of a performance in the organization or in a project in a structured way. So this is just a visual view of what all the informations, like for example, you can see that there is a chart, a bar chart information which is there, and also you can see that there is a fishbone diagram which is shown in there. So the planning, the controlling, the information which required to be spread over the organizations and the project, which can be displayed in one single place, which will be accessed by all the people in the project at any point of time, to ensuring that the information transparency is available. So this is done now through a combination of a structured and I'll say that the combination of art and science together. Can you just move to the next slide? It is a commitment-based management, like it's called as a CPM. A commitment is actually what is commitment? You can get a commitment through a multiple way. You can threaten someone to get a commitment. You can request someone to get a commitment. You can just plead someone to get a commitment. So now if you look at in a construction, how does the commitments are happening? So we created a hierarchy saying that, okay, the client, consultant, contractor, and subcontractor. Now, the commitment is something like whenever the client is asking, the contractor have to say yes. And that is a very common understanding situation in a project. Whereas if consultant is asking something, definitely again the contractor have to say. But if the contractor is asking, it may go through a different channel process, and ultimately it may take some approval. It may take a longer time to get it. But if you look at a real commitment, how does it need to be managed and how does it need to be controlled? Why we have to do a commitment in a more structured way? That let me talk about that first. The project is a network of commitment. Now, if one commitment is not fulfilled, like for example, you're asking a contractor to start a block work, and if the contractor is not been provided with the drawing, the contractor is not provided with the advance money, the contractor is not provided with an access, or maybe the contractor within the contractor itself, the contractor management is not provided them with the manpower or machinery or the material, the work may not be happening. So we are in a monthly meetings or in any control meeting, and we are insisting that okay, the block work need to be started by next day or maybe in a 1 week. He have no other choice to say that yes, I will start it. But that is not a real commitment which he or she will be honoring it. So that is one of the reason you can see that in most of the minutes of meeting in construction project, the line items remain same. The date of commitment is keep on changing it. So one of the method which we need to practice in the construction is called as a commitment-based management. And when there's a tool which is called as a last planner system. We are not covering in this course. Actually, it's a separate, but I'll mention that in as we go. So the last planner system is actually following the principles of a commitment-based management. Can you keep the previous slide? So the commitment-based management, it's actually taking any commitment through a 4 different stages. So first and most, the preparation. So like for example, in this block work what we are talking, so we need to have a preparation well in advance, saying that on the look ahead planning, you have to ensure that all the prerequisites required to start the work is being arranged. That means, there are some responsibility for a designer, some responsibility for a procurement, some responsibility for a project manager, some responsibility for some other trades. So if all the preparations are done, and that is when, we are asking in a request saying that, okay, is it possible to start the block work by next week? And that is when the person who really execute the job can come and negotiate and saying that his challenges and problems can be put it across. No, I cannot do it because we just de-shuttered it. We still have the material there. So now that, so the conversation will be coming in, okay, how we can remove that de-shuttered material from there, and so that, we can give it. So when you have a negotiation, you get into a common and realistic understanding of when this person can really start the job. Now, it may not be 7 days, we may agree for a 10 days. Now, that gives the right opportunity, the right platform for the person to get what all he's required to do the job. So we call it as all the planning related aspects are being taken care. Now it is come for him to execute it. So the performer, the third step is the performer who is going to perform that particular job. And if in case of any challenges or any kind of a problem, so that is when he will be coming back on the daily huddle, which all will be happening in the OBEA or a big room, what I mentioned earlier. So where the communication, the feedback will be given to the customers, any problems or challenges in between. If not, if the work is done, that is going to be declared that. Now, what is the beauty of this is, when you do that in a big room where all the participants are available and all informations are in the wall which is available, you will see that the task which is asked or committed by the person is being committed. So your feedback loops are also going to happen it in the right way. And this feedback loop is not just to the person who really requested, that means the customer who is requested, the person who is going to do the next job, like maybe the electrical guy who need to do the conduiting, or maybe the plastering guy who need to do the work. So everyone are also informed. So the network of commitment will be happening in a very structured way, and more of the predictability of whatever the commitment the people are giving will be much more effective in that day. So this is the way, you know, the entire course has been defined. And quickly I will just mention one more important thing which is part of the course is the project management information system. Definitely we need to have a lot of technology, a lot of information gap need to be bridged through in a structured way. We have to bring insight into that, like, you know, why the procurement, how does the procurement is progressing, how the cost has been structured, how does the progress is being monitored. So all is required for a better decision. So you have a good project management information system which is again displayed in the OBEA or in the big room, that ensuring that the more effective communications are happening in there. And ultimately, you know, this is the final set of information I want to give it. Yeah, keep the slides, you know, the next slide. Compass. This is what I've mentioned earlier. The CIA has developed a beautiful tool which is with which you can assess it. It's like an evidence-based communication. You are talking, saying that, okay, we have a very good communication coordination. Our teams are working excellently, seamlessly and everything, but is it really happening? So what you have to do is, you have to see that how does you evaluate it. So you can survey it using the tools, and you have to ensure. Can you just keep the next slides? So there is a different classifications you can do it, and you could able to. Can you just move to the next slide, please? Vimal, can you are you able to move to the
Yes.
next?
Yes, the image of the text.
Now in the 33, just one slide. I think we got stuck in one slide. Oh yeah, this is fine. This is fine. This is fine. It's fine. Okay. No, one before. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. So the compass is actually, it's a diagnostic tools by CIA, and what it is does is it is assess the communication effectiveness on a scale of 1 to 10 in a different categories. So there is a category like, you know, the accuracy, timelines and completeness, etc., like, you know, barriers and, you know, everything. And they have also been done it in a various categorization, like in the project management, engineering and construction. So you will be able to see that how effectively these communications are happening through real data. Like, you know, it's like, you know, evidence-based communication, as it is rightly mentioned. And the advantages of this is, can you just go to the next slide? So when you do that compass-based diagnosis, you can clearly measure the communication effectiveness. Now, if you have a low measure which is coming between the project management, so you know that, okay, the project management need to look into that area which need to be improved in. Or it clearly quantifies the stakeholders' you know, how does it is happening, your effectiveness in, you know, in a communication. If some specific area, if there is some weakness, you will be able to identify that problems, you can understand, and you can, you know, start increasing or start hand holding that particular area to improve the communication in that particular area. So it is nothing but a simple tool to assess the project team communication. So the compass diagnosis tool is actually complementing the entire project communication things whatever we discussed. So to conclude, it's like, you know, we build a strategy and a plan in the beginning. We engage the stakeholder and understand them, and then we make the people to understand the importance of active listening, and ultimately the structure, the governance structure, what we established, like big rooms and the communication based management CBM and the project management system. And ultimately, we are helping or analyzing using a compass diagnostic tool to see that if the communications are really happening effectively or not. So that makes the construction project communication courses very apt for the construction industry, what I will say. So now I'll quickly take you through the other few courses like construction interface management. So similarly, the construction communication is one of the major challenge. The other one of the most common problem in our industry is the interface. We have probably 20 25 different packages will be there. Sometimes we may give it to one contractor, but still there is a lot of interfaces will be there. We have a lot of interfaces will be there in the design as well. So when you have a right interface management across the project life cycle, so it will help us to clearly manage the design to execution in a more better way. So this particular course of construction interface management is helping us to take you through in a structured way of how does the interfaces management is happening. Can you go to the next one? Similarly, there is a scope and change order. You know that the construction is all about, all the triple constraints. What we are talking is purely depends on the scope. If the scope changes, your time will change, your cost will change, and it will have a direct impact on how we deliver to the end organization. So here again, you will see that the data-driven approach of the CII and the project management body of knowledge and also the lean methodologies are combined together. So this makes the construction certification different from the any other project management courses which are available now. Yeah, can you go to contracts and risk management? Similarly, there's a detail like you know that the contract is very important part in the construction. It may not be as important in other industries, but the complete construction industry or construction projects are driven by the contract, and the importance of a risk management is very high because we are working in a very uncertain situation. There is no two projects are in a similar in nature. We are constructing two different towers nearby in a similar tower, but the risk which is involved or been associated with the towers are completely different. You are engaging two different contractor, the risks are different. The same contract you engage in a two tower, still the risk will be different because there will be again a subcontractor, suppliers, and the ground conditions, the supply chain disruptions. Many things are different in a construction. So the base course, the PMICP certification, the 4 courses you complete and you go for an exam like Ricardo mentioned earlier, that will make you to appear for the PMICP exam, and that will get you a PMICP certification. Now coming to the next set, can you just go to the next slides? So when you completed the PMICP certification, you have an opportunity to go for other 3 modules, other 3 courses, which is the construction performance material management, the technology and innovation, and the execution planning. Next slide, please. So the construction performance and material management, which will help you to, the construction, it have a lot of challenges, the material, the machineries, and the supporting areas which we need to do it. So how do you get the performance done? It really required all the ingredients required to perform the job. So you look at the strategically planning and how you are going to get it done in a structured way. Similarly, the technology and innovation, one of the key area, you remember which Ricardo was mentioning, the people, process, and technology. Now, you look at any industry is matured and been going. When we develop the people, we improve the process, and we are ensuring that the technology is bridging between that. Now, what is the beauty of PMI CP construction professional, which I like it, because we are talking about developing the people by giving understanding about a structured way of managing the project through a PMBOK and making the people to have a analytical and a proactive and a lean way of problem solving, and helping them or complementing with the CIS database approach. So literally the people will be able to see that which of the processes can be automated, which can be digitalized, and where it can be a new innovation is possible. So this course is dedicated to technology and innovation. And that is why it has been kept as a senior. And ultimately, the execution planning, this is exactly the two beautiful sections of the Construction Industry Institute, which is called as an advanced work packaging, where the oil and gas, the large EPC contracts and everything being controlled. And second is something called as a last planner system, which I've mentioned earlier. It's literally helping you. Today we plan, we project, we have a master plan, we get into a monthly plan, we create, and every month we create some plan, we try to get the work done. What is happen, not happen, we plan for the next 2 months. But we have not been able to connect in a structured way what is the milestone to the end work. And whatever we plan in the MS project or in a Prima, whereas site may be happening something else. But whereas the last planner system, through the structured way, it is helping you to have a very clear understanding about the master planning to the end, what is going to be happen in the next 1 week. And if it is not happening, that learnings are being getting back into the look ahead planning, the phase planning, and the milestone planning. So it has been beautifully taken. All the best practices across the globe, across the organizations, are combined together in these 7 courses. And the 7 courses, you can see that the 4 courses are the core courses which are required for the PMICP certification. Like Ricardo mentioned earlier, we need roughly 6 hours to complete it. 4 to 6 hours to just complete the courses in online. So totally we need around, if you are continuously watching, then probably in 24 hours, you will be able to complete it. And in an instructor-led program, we need around 8 days to complete it. We are trying to put it in a 5-day. It's a possibility. We need to explore it because 8 days spending in a classroom, it's very difficult for the construction professionals as well. So we are working on how to see that we can bring it into 5 days as an ATP through some tailoring and structured way of doing it. So that's the main information. I just want to share it along with the Ricardo. Ricardo, you want to add something? I just spoke so many things so fast in between. So did I miss something? You want to add something to the for the benefit of the audience?
No, I think it's beautiful in terms of bringing everything together. You did a fantastic job of introducing each of the modules. And Tony may have mentioned that each module was really developed out of pain points that were identified by the industry. So this certification is really one that was developed by the industry for the industry. So it's very practical. The curriculum is a practical application of all of the latest standards within the sector, and I encourage you to start on your journey in this regard. You would not regret it. Everybody who has looked at the course and have done an analysis of it is really, really pleased with the material that's developed here. So yeah, thank you very much.
That's great. I
Back
just
to you,
want to
Tim.
sorry. No, it's just a quick one. I request everyone to scan and join this community. We have a very good community in the LinkedIn, which is this group is being run by the PMI. So you can join there. There is a lot of discussion happened, all the questions and clarifications, any queries, you have it all that has been already posted by many people and been clarified. You can still ask for anything. So feel free to join this LinkedIn group if you feel like you need to have more information and need to be connected with the people those who have already taken the PMICP certifications or anything. So Cynthia and Vimal, are we going to take the Q&A question and answers now, or you want to just go to the next one, and then how do you want to do it?
I believe we have some time for Q&A.
Okay.
So I would request the participants to.
So is there any
unmute.
questions in the chat? Then probably you can read out. Otherwise, if someone have any questions, please raise the hand, and then we can answer you. So anyone have any questions? Anything to understand? If not, probably we can. Yeah. Sorry, that question just passed. Let me see it. Okay, so the construction safety, see, it's a safety, quality, the related cost and everything, which is really complementing to the construction. So what it is being considered is, yes, the safety is been, a lot of the feedback which is coming is the safety has been improved when you're having the structured way of working. It's not directly any courses or the areas are related to the safety management, but absolutely we are seeing that we are getting a feedback from the safety people as well. When we are having a structured way of understanding the project and able to manage it well, that is when the safety and quality is been doubled or been improved in a much faster way. Ricardo, you want to add any points into this? The question is,
No,
yeah.
it's covered in general. I would say
Absolutely.
safety is very specific to sometimes states, sometimes the government. So it's an area that, while it's covered in general, it's not very specific. That will have to be implemented on a localized basis.
Yeah. So I think we have many PMICP certified people are also in the group in this particular area. I can see someone with the PMICP certification. It's good to see that the community is being coming together, which will really help to motivate the other people. So thank you everyone for joining. Cynthia, you want to just get into the next one, and in between, if any questions comes, we can.
Yeah, we will probably can go to the slide announcement. Yeah. Hello everyone, I'm Cynthia, DBP Education for PMI Kerala chapter. Thank you for joining us today. Today marks an exciting milestone for PMI Kerala as we officially launched our Engineering and Construction Forum. As you have heard, this initiative is dedicated to professionals like you who are aligned to the construction industry, providing a space to connect, network, and share knowledge. And through this forum, PMI Kerala chapter aims to support your learning and upskilling needs with a strong focus on PMI construction professional certification. To help you on this journey, we are rolling out 2 specialized courses. You can scan the QR code, which will be displayed in the screen, and let us know your interest. We'll follow up with further details and the next steps. We'll have 2 courses planned. One is the PMICP certification preparatory course, which will provide in-depth training and support throughout your certification journey. PMICP exam preparation support will be for those who have completed their learning but yet to secure your certification. This course will offer additional guidance and support for your preparation. So the survey that you will be getting by scanning the QR code, it will just take a minute or so. We are looking forward for your response. So meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can put it across so that Ricardo and Tony can also help us.
Yeah, I mean, this is see, when Ricardo was mentioning around 17,000 courses are already taken, and it can be many people maybe still wondering, or maybe not able to spend time or anything. So we thought we will do it in a 2 different approach. One is like we will give a complete, like the entire instructor-led classroom program in a more structured way, to starting from the beginning to each courses and everything to take you through. That's one. It's a full course. Or someone is already completed the e-learnings and you still need some kind of a hand holding to take it to the next level, to write the exams and everything. That's when we are trying to do another one. So this is what we want to do it. We definitely want the industry to come back and express your interest. We'll be announcing the details shortly, like Cynthia mentioned. So meanwhile, we will be doing some more webinars and some more interactions as part of the community. So be part of the PMIK construction community, and it's part of a global community, the global construction community, what the PMI is building. So join the PMI LinkedIn group, which I mentioned earlier, and also express your interest here. And all the webinars will be having the PDUs. Definitely, you will get a PDU for this as well. You will be sharing the PDU code also, right, Cynthia? Yeah, okay. So just wait for it another 2 minutes and you will be getting that. So meanwhile, any questions, if someone want to, you may put something in the chat, but if we didn't answer, please raise the hand and you can speak and you can ask your questions if there is anything.
Tony, there's one question from Atif.
Okay, so
What are the challenges you see having the PMI-CP exam as a common book as PMP?
okay, so the PMI-CP exams are equally graded like a PMP exams. It's more of a situation-oriented exams, and you need to have a good understanding about the concepts. But it's not a very complex or anything. Like you are part of we need a minimum 3 years of experience is what the PMI-CP certification recommended. So you are a person with at least a 3 year of experience, and you have gone through the content twice and taken through the supporting documents which is provided by the PMI. It's not a complicated, like you can easily clear the exams.
Yeah, there is a second part to it. What would it take for the governing bodies or local authorities to make the CP certification mandatory for large construction projects?
Okay. Okay. So this is what the PMI is working on it. This is what the industry is working on it. Like for example, when I go through the course first time and I've completed the course, what I immediately done is I've seen the potential, I've seen the benefit, I've seen the necessity. So I started talking to my friends and the organization which I know and the people I know. And then this is what is going to happen. It now, if you look at the larger organizations like the advisory groups, like the big fives and the project management companies. So the many people now started going through it. What the beauty of this is compared to the PMP, what you're doing. The PMP is required more of a generalistic understanding. It's more of a program management. What you're talking in the PMI-CP is purely related to the construction, where the contract, the risk, and the scope and everything. So how do you really does the construction management today is what been converted into a globally established best practices certification course. Now it will come over a period of time. Now, for example, in India, like we cannot take a one overnight decision to say that it's become a mandatory. But whereas the private sector can come more faster and quicker. So we need everyone's support. Like you go through the course, you understand it, you learn it, and you make others to learn. And that is when you started seeing that someone who have the similar knowledge will help your project to run in a better way. So that is where you can see that the organization and the people will start demanding for it. Now it's going to start coming from the Saudi, like you remember Ricardo was mentioning. Now all the Saudi people they are going through these exams are going to get reimposed. So over a period of time, you will see that almost all the decision makers will be having this credential or will be aware of it. Like the South African government is going to make it, or there are different cases are there, different organizations are evaluating. I know at least 3 to 4 top project management and the advisory groups are evaluating this certification now. Now, this is going to be coming up mandatory. I will not say that a date for it, but definitely when by seeing the benefit and the advantages, I expect these bodies and the organizations will be putting it. So I suggest even the PMI also PMI Kerala chapter also can introduce this to the PWDs and to the governments and to the the areas, local bodies within the area, so that the people will be aware of it, and then they can also start recommending and insisting, or maybe making it mandatory for the people to do it.
And somebody had raised their hand, probably can unmute and speak.
Sorry, who's that?
I just saw somebody raising the hand. I couldn't get that name there.
Okay, no, maybe by mistake. Okay, yeah, I think there is a Evie Davila. Yeah, Davila. Can you just unmute and speak? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, just please introduce yourself and then you are a PMICP champion. Yes. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming. Your voice is not coming. We can't hear you.
Now.
Yeah, it's working now. Yeah.
Okay, now good. Hello, everyone. It's Evelyn Davila from Fort Lee, New Jersey. I did complete my PMI-CP certification in July. I am a global ambassador. I work with Tony and with Ricardo. I wanted to say you did an excellent job. As someone who has completed the courses, Tony, this recap was fantastic. I think your highlights were spot on. And the information was just incredibly done. The courses were very well put together. And I think that you will find them so useful in your careers. To the chapter, I wanted to say hi. I love what you have in store, and I hope that we can keep in touch. So thank you.
Okay, so can you just give your exam experience, because that maybe the people will be looking at immediately to understand. So can you just...
I think it is exactly what you said. Very similar to the format of the PMP. It obviously takes a lot of preparation. In my particular case, I had to learn how to learn again. So reading, taking notes, highlighting, maybe not the right way to go. So besides learning the material, I also brushed up on how to prepare for an exam, which is a good idea anytime you're facing an exam. I think it's important to understand each course individually, but also how the material is interwoven from course to course. Just put the time in. Make sure to read the business cases that are provided in each course, because I think it helps, right? So the course is providing material guidance, but then the business cases add a lot to it. There was one particular case about the big dig in Massachusetts, right? A big project that went very wrong. And in my case, it helped me to understand how it could have gone right if these people had the tools that are provided in the certification. So I think that would be my advice. Pace yourself, learn how to learn, brush up, and understand how all the topics work together.
That's great. That's well said and beautifully detailed. It's very important to go through all the documents which has been supplied or provided. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thanks for
Great
joining.
job, Tony.
Tony, we have a question. How PMICP and CM Lean complement each other?
Okay, so
from Mr. Mohammed Hanif.
Absolute. I got the question. So, okay. So now I'll put it in this way. So if someone is looking at being an expert or being more focusing on a lean construction, that is when the CM lean is coming. But whereas when you're talking about a project manager or a construction project manager, lean is one area where they'll be talking about the process improvement, the performance improvement, and the continuous improvement which is happening. You can do it proactively managing the project, whereas the construction management, which lies a more a larger perspective. You need to have a governance, it need to have a structure, it need to have a risk management, it need to have a scope management, it need to have a contract management, it need to have a more of a data-driven approach, which is provided by the CII, like in various tools which are there. So the PMI-CP, it's a combination of a project management body of knowledge, the lean construction, what we are talking, and the CII's data-driven approach. Now, in this PMI-CP, around 25 to 26% of the content is related to the lean construction. So it's a two different certification, I will say that. So I would recommend to the people to go for both. That's what I have done. But it's again depends on the choice and everything. So if you are trying to become a lean champions or a lean expert, definitely you can complement with the CM lean. But whereas you look at a general project management, whereas you need to have a lean understanding and then performing in that way, probably the PMI-CP is the first one. So I'll say that mostly the people can start with the PMI-CP, and you look at finding the understanding lean, because the 26% of part of it, and then ultimately you find it more effective and you want to get a more in-depth understanding about the lean, that is when you can go for a separate learning. So similarly, you find it CIA tools and everything, there are separate more in-depth courses are available for a CIA related studies also. So you start with that PMICP if you are a fresher in both, and then understand all the concepts, and then based on your interest and area of working, you go into the depth.
Thanks, Tony. I think we are running out of time, so we will close the Q&A session here. But I think forum, the LinkedIn and other forums are open for all the people who are interested to ask questions.
Yeah, probably you can show the PDU code for that. Maybe many people
Yes.
will be for it. Yeah.
Aisha. Yeah. So thank you once again to all the speakers and participants for making this a success.